further along in age, I know you're talking about, saving up for retirement, but for those who have not done much, and that are further along in age, what can they do?
I can answer that too. That would be one of the keys, and we're going to discuss this in one of the things tonight. The goal is the closer you get to retirement or in retirement, minimize expenses and to realize the worth from the assets that you have. You realize the worth of the assets. For example, is to if you have a house, I'm big on this. If you have a house or something, if I'm struggling in retirement, let's say I'm struggling in retirement. So if you have a house and retirement's difficult for me, I'd sell the house. That's the reason for a home is in terms of some of you say, I want to keep my house and pass it on to the children. That's great. But if I'm struggling doing it and they're not helping me, I need to sell my house and then they're gonna get what's left after I make sure I have enough to be sustained. That's the key. A house is a major asset, and what it does a lot of time, it can fund retirement when the retirement plan and Social Security isn't adequate. It's great to keep the house if it's paid off and I can afford it, or I can just afford the payments. But if it's difficult, that's one of the best assets. I sometimes too, it's not bad. I don't tell people do this, but if somebody really had dire circumstances, I'm gonna tell people I would tell someone, let me correct it, do a reverse mortgage, but only as a last resort. Only a last resort. I tell them exhaust every other means and be sure because reverse mortgage can go against you to where if eventually you exhaust all the money in it, you got to start making house payments again and you owe them money and things. But I'm a big believer in it depends on the circumstances. So I'm gonna come back to that. But I'm a big believer in one of the reasons you pay on your house, you do it 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, it's your greatest asset. And the greatest builder of wealth and the greatest fund of retirement is a home. One of the things for my mother, when her father passed, father did a great job, but he gave, remember, Seymour, you know, that he was giving all his money away, helping people all the time.
Right, right.
But the house was a big help for her in terms of retirement because he never like retirement plans, those things. Like he didn't have that. That wasn't, he was always helping people. But the house helped in terms, she sold the house. Then when she lived with Mike, lived with me, then went back to Mike, she would live different places because she didn't have a mortgage to carry. Didn't need to carry a mortgage, didn't need, she had no bills. She was living off us rent free, Ministry Growing. So there were no bills to carry. It was to be taken care of. Then became our job, then the children's job, take care of the mother. But a mortgage, if the income isn't there for it, can become a hassle. I'm a big believer in home ownership, but I think it should pay off down the line. Else, you never realize the value of the home. And then the second dimension is you always got to think about when you leave a house to a child, are they going to pay the mortgage? Are they going to pay the property taxes? Or are they going to pay the mortgage? I've seen too many times in the church, children lose the house. It was a family church that the father told me. He said, as soon as I die and the mother dies, my children will lose the house. And he was right. They lost the house. And he knew it. He said, they're going to lose the house. He said, they are not going to pay the taxes. They are not going to do this. They're going to lose the house. And they lost the house. And that happens over and over. So that's one method if it's necessary, if that's needed. We're going
That's
to
our question, Pastor.
go ahead,
Pastor,
Minister Mara.
what about land?
What, and as in terms of owning land,
Retirement. Yeah, purchasing land for retirement.
purchasing land for retirement is good as long as person has, if they big money like you, they can do it. Then they can go ahead and do it. But I always tell people when they buy land or real estate, make sure you got money. I always tell people when you get in land or real estate, make sure you got the money in the pockets to be able to sustain that and do it. Renee knows I'm big on this, and Dr. and Crystal can always test this. I'm very big on live a splurge some, but live a frugal lifestyle. I'm so big on that. Live within your means. I've always believed in live in a box financially. I always believe in that. Live in a budget. Don't go over it. Live in it. And if you violate the budget one month, you pay the next month. The next month you come back, you can strain it more and more. Stay within
The
those
budget.
limits. Stay
Uh,
within those
Pastor,
because
Pastor, we
you
might, Pastor, we might say it because people told back in the day, I was gonna, if you ever get a chance to buy land,
Land is an excellent investment. I
That's
recommend
good.
land when somebody gets when they're about 100,000. I tell people you can play in real estate some when they got enough, they
Yeah,
got a cushion. Because sometimes people will buy it, they'll buy land, or they'll say, "I'm gonna rent a house or something." I always tell people when they don't pay the rent, you better be prepared to take the mortgage on and pay it. You got to
yeah,
have enough to say, if they don't pay the rent for a year, I got it. I can cover it while you go through the eviction process and everything. You got to be able to cover it or be able to build on. Land is a good investment if you can hold it long term. Long
good.
term, any asset you buy, whether it's land, a mutual fund, those types of things, you're normally going to win over the long term. It's just trying to do it over the short term. It's very difficult in terms of that. So we talk about having a retirement plan, planning today for a happy tomorrow.
Mm.
And people's perfect retirement, they'll say, I'm gonna travel and see the world. That's what people think. Or I'm going to be happy and comfortable every day. Third one, have a sense of purpose and meaning. Volunteer and feel wonderful helping other people. Live independently with love and purpose. So those things. Another thing that's happened today, Brichette, because I've been reading up on this. I looked about a month ago. Some of the people are doing that. It's two options. They either downsize or sometimes they age in place. And what they do is adapt the home for when they get older to where they transform the shower, the staircase, different to be able to get around easier in their home. That's why there aren't a lot of homes on the market too, as well today. Some of the older people are a lot of times aging in place because of house prices, and they're saying, "I'm gonna just age
Mhm.
in place. If they can afford to, I'm gonna age right where I am and not go anywhere." And so that's a checklist. We'll come back to this,
Hey,
but
Pastor,
go ahead, Brother Carter.
I got two questions. One, do you see any prophecy fulfilled? And when we look at the economic trends and things that are taking place, can you look within scripture and see prophecy fulfilled or anything that seems to be manifested in that particular area? And also, I notice in the message you often talk about the Social Security and how they're coming for it. Um, I'm trying to get an understanding on how anyone would even want to support these views, knowing that Social Security is the stability among those when we think of retirement. But why do you feel so strong about that? And if you could just elaborate just a little, I know you have to get on to the. I was just curious about.
That's an excellent question. Well, Brother Carter, for the second one first, I would say they're coming so hard after that. They don't see it as it's not saying I see it as they don't see the dignity and the right of people to be able to have a right to an adequate retirement and to be able to live. I think in terms of they see it as they always call it an entitlement and they always call it something that's we don't have a right to it. Two things they don't think is a right to, and I don't understand this, not a right to Social Security and not a right to health insurance. This is the only major nation in the world I know like this that we're, in terms of developed country, they say first world country, we have our health care is not adequate. We pay a fortune. We pay the most for health care, but we don't get the best health care. And health insurance is not seen as a right in this country. So it's not seen as your right to health care. You better pay this. It's not seen as you have a right in terms of retirement. We one of the lowest in terms. We get some of the least vacation days. You go in Europe, they get more vacation than we do. We're lucky to get 2 weeks out of a year. They get much more vacation. We have 5 day work days. A lot of these countries have 4 day work
That's
days.
right. That's right.
We work harder, we work longer, and then it's pulling away the social safety net because it's seen as you have no right to Social Security. And the thought is keep us working forever, to have a working class and keep working and working and working, and then to die with no benefit. We live in a time of the greatest concentration of wealth in American history. You never had before people who were multi-billionaires in this country, where one man can have $400 billion in terms of that. The corruption in the system. Capitalism is designed to create wealth, but it's not created for the sharing of wealth. And so
That's right.
it creates wealth, then there's no sharing. Then when you eliminate the estate taxes on the wealthy and those people, it's never transferred out because it used to be when you died, if you died a multi-billionaire, some of that money be transferred out in terms of taxes, no more. Now it just passes to descendants, the next one, the next one, next one, and it concentrates the wealth. And so in that corruption, and I think it's a lack of empathy and humanity. And then the first question you asked, which is an excellent question, I believe many of the biblical prophecies, Revelation, Daniel talked about it coming to pass. We have more famine in the land. You see, where it wouldn't rain in California.
Right.
They have
Right.
more fires that outrage. God kept saying, when there's oppression, corruption in the land, He said, I'll drop the heavens. It won't rain. It didn't rain in that state for so long.
That's
We
right.
it had wildfires spreading over. You have more earthquakes occurring all over the place in
Yeah.
terms, yeah, they're shocked by it. And they're shocked by what's taking place with the natural disasters. We have more hurricanes than ever before.
Tornadoes too.
Ever before. We have more, you hit on them in Sigma, we have more tornadoes taking place. All of these things are the judgment of God on the land,
Yeah.
what's taking place. God's
Yeah.
judgment. He kept telling them his judgment on the land, his judgment, and that's
That's right.
taking place
Yeah. Yes.
in our country. That's taking place. That's taking place all over in terms of the injustice that's taking place. I think of it just like Elijah's time. He said, I'll close up the heavens. And so many of these places, we even get our crops things now. We having to outsource. We're not getting enough here. We're not able to plant here. We're not able to produce. We're
That's
not
right.
because he's drying it up. And I believe that's coming to fruition. That's what's taking place. I really believe God is not pleased with what takes place in this country.
Yes.
We got great wealth and there's great injustice in this country. Tremendous injustice where we got rising poverty and we don't help anybody. We so selfish as a nation. We believe even now with the US aid thing and the cancellation, don't help nobody. Don't help those in other countries. Don't help the selfishness. And this America first thing, that's the most selfish thing of just, it's all about us. And so I feel like it's the judgment of God on the land. But that corresponds to about more time I go on, that corresponds to the lack of faith today. Today you got less belief in God than ever before in America.
That's right.
Everybody got their own spirituality. I'm gonna burn some sage. I got these candles. I'm gonna manifest. I hear that all the time. About to manifest it. I'm gonna manifest it. I'm gonna manifest this. I'm gonna just focus on. It's no need for God. I'm my own God. I just manifest it. If I focus on something enough, I make a vision board and just focus on. I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna make it. There's no connection.
That's right.
So I think God is letting oppression happen so that we can call on God. Everybody's gonna need God. The job losses, the things taking place. There'll be a call for God. Oppression always makes people realize they need Jesus.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't need Jesus. And then I watch him Minister Sigma wheel him into surgery. Can you pray for me? Can you pray for me? Make sure, pray for me. Pray. No, you don't believe. Why you want me to pray for you when you don't? I need some help now. Now I need some help me, Jesus. I need some help. And so I feel that. This gives us an example for retirement income sources. And this is just an example. Average Social Security payment 2025, right? As of right now, the average. That doesn't mean this is what you get or what you will get. It's the average. $1,976 a month is the average payment. With the increase they gave, cost of living adjustment, Crenshaw, COLA, the average. That's just the average. Somebody might get 800. Somebody else might say I get 3,000, but that's the average is 1976, which is $23,712 annually. Retirement planning. Let's say that's based on 10,000 a year. So let's say somebody in their retirement plan, 401k, IRA. These are not huge amounts to say to do because that's the government, 23,712, and retirement. Somebody said I'm gonna draw down in retirement. I want to draw down $833 a month. So somebody had, let's say they had 100,000 retirement plan. That could be drawn down and it can still grow. It can continue to grow. Somebody said, I got 100,000 in my retirement. They could take out $833, 30% a month, and still say, okay, I got 90,000 left in the year, but it's growing still because each month is left in there. So it can replenish itself and grow even beyond the 100,000. They could easily take out 10 as they do that monthly. And other income, I just listed 524 a month to balance it out. That could be anything. That can be part-time work, because sometimes what's happening in retirement, people are finding you got to do something when you retire. It gets boring just to sit in the house every single day and do nothing.
Yes.
It's fun in the beginning, but then like a couple months ago, it's boring to sit there because you don't know if it's Monday or Friday. You want, is it Monday? Was it Friday? Every
Yeah.
day just run together. Because you're gonna do the same thing. So the thing is, I ain't doing nothing more anyway. So what difference does it make? And they
Right.
run together. You have to have something to do.
Yes.
To do. You can love yourself all you want, Reverend Griffin, but stay in the house with yourself long enough, you get sick of yourself in the house.
Yes. Yes.
I'm tired of me. After a while, you start thinking, I'm tired of me. Let me get out, get some air, go talk to somebody to interact. Because we were made for, honestly, relationship to talk to people. We were made to be connected to people. That's when you isolated, a person sick and isolated, they get sad, depressed, damn, they're alone. And so that rounds out to about 6,000. That could be any, that could be volunteering in terms of part-time, I'm talking about income, not volunteering fully, but it could be saying, I do 10 hours a week doing this or this. So that equates to about 40,000 annually. That's just off something modest. I'm not saying anything major. 23,712 Social Security, 10,000 retirement plan, and generating about 6,000. It could be selling something online. It can be a million things you do to generate something like that. And that would be a $40,000 a year retirement. And these are things you want to estimate. Housing, what will it cost you? That's why the closer you get, and we can just go through some tips tonight. I'm not going to take long. We'll go through some tips. The closer you get in terms of the time you want, that's when you want to actually either get your house paid off or get the mortgage way down to the end. The closer you start thinking about retirement, that's when you want a paid off house. You want, so if you're saying I'm retiring 10 years, then you really want to make sure, and I'm gonna live in this house, then you really want to pay that house off. You know, if you want to live there. If you go move, you still might want to pay a little extra, but then you want to know when I sell this house, I want to get top dollar, start fixing some stuff as I get closer to retirement, make sure I fix up, do certain things so this house is ready to sell, and then move to a condo apartment somewhere or a senior facility, and I'm gonna take all this equity and bankroll my life. Well, I'll invest some, live off some, and have it replenish itself, and I'm gonna live my dream. Transportation, same thing. You start figuring out that cost in terms of that. Electricity, water. I always tell people cable. Today you can eliminate that. Today you can survive off of apps. You can survive off, you're a Netflix person, you can make it off that. Hulu or something, you can make it off that. Hulu got plans at $1.99, $5.99 a month. And if you're a cable person, you say, I gotta have my cable TV, you would do something like YouTube TV for like 70 something a month, 79 versus a cable bundle at like 250 or something, which is real high. And so that the internet, seniors get better packages. So the closer you get to retirement, the more you should be considering in terms of you get better packages on internet, cell phone service. They got special deals for being a senior, for in terms of that communication, those things. And then you estimate two things like food, clothing, travel. Are you going to travel? Are you going to do entertainment? Any memberships, shopping? You start making out a budget. We're going to have some tips that we can do to estimate and to figure out what we need. But these are expenses. And something you got to figure out, are you a foodie? If you're a foodie, you're going to take that amount up. I spend 2,000 a month, 25, you're a foodie. If you're a person, a foodie, like some people like to eat out, or they like to eat extravagantly, or they say, I got to have my crab cakes. I need, that's a foodie. That's a foodie. I'm happy with I'm giving I have grilled chicken. I'm fine. If I eat some big chicken,
Big
my
chicken,
father
Jeanette,
loved like
with
since
big
we go out to eat,
chicken.
he would say, "You don't eat all this." I said, "I don't need." I said, "That's your thing." I said, "That's not my thing." I said, "I like other things." Food, that was his thing, and so seafood, those things, that was his thing. I'd rather have some electronic, something tangible. I like a durable good, like something I can a card. Something I like something durable, tangible that's there. But you got to know what's your thing. I don't get excited spending 100, $150 eating. That don't excite me. So that's not my thing. Clothing, you got to know your person. Are you a person in clothes? That's something I do like, Burchett. So clothes, I want to know, okay, I like these shoes, or I like this suit, or this shirt, or this, or it can be gym stuff. It's stuff. Do I want to have this? I don't need a lot of designer brands, but I'd like to have clothes. I don't have to have, oh, that's Gucci. That's I don't gotta have all that. But I do like to be able to know, okay, I got closets where I got clothes. If I need this, I got this shirt. I got this. Travel. Travel. Typically, it's not always true. Women like to travel more. Men like to stay in the
Mhm.
house. Women like to travel.
Mhm.
The only reason men normally travel is because the woman travels. So they like to leave
Mhm.
the country, this, go here. That's not a man's dream. You know one thing, I'm gonna retire and travel. No, that's not the dream, but travel. That's the woman's dream. To see this. Women love typically Crenshaw experiences. Experience.
Mhm.
And so this is
Yes.
an experience. This is
Yes.
no thing. That's why even for the church, we try and take more photographs. Renee knows this. I don't even like pictures like that. I don't love like, let's all take a picture. Like, what's the point? We all here, we see each other. I'm fine with that. And so whenever it's like, let's take, I'm like, I saw you. You see me. I see you. We okay. That's fine. But that's something later to look at and to reflect on and to do. Entertainment, do you like that? All these things. So to know, are you a shopper? You got to be honest with yourself. Then you set a budget for, I can spend this on shopping. I would say there's nothing wrong with shopping as long as you can afford it and you have a budget and you stick to it. You say, well, I'll spend this month $500 shopping. Okay, you can afford it. Good. 850 for if it's something, whatever is person wants to shop for. And so planning for retirement, that's always smart. You want to assess your financial condition. That's the number one thing. Calculate your net worth. That's what I learned, Minister Monroe. One of the things finance taught me. Finance is a lot of mathematical computation. So what it is a lot of is you can value things. You can value a stock, you can value an investment. It's like an actuary, for life insurance, like life is prices, but an actuary job is put a value on a person's life. You figure out what's the earnings potential, what's the power, what's this. This is when they offer person insurance. They say, you got a $2 million pot, that's the value an actuary came with. This is the value we encompass for existence. And you calculate your net worth. Everybody focuses on income. I want to make six figures. They never teach it in finance. They always teach you net worth. Don't matter what you make, net worth. What do you keep? You learn the underlying value. That's the reason why they say make 150, don't matter. What's your net worth? What are you worth? That's your number one focus. They don't teach that in school of net worth. Assets minus liabilities equals owner's equity. That's accounting
Yeah.
101. The basic accounting equation, assets minus liabilities equals what you worth. You take everything, all your assets, your house, everything, your mortgage you owe, the total principal balance you owe left on the house, this liability. That tells me this is my net worth. The goal is to have this be a positive number and to get it as large as possible. That's why you find out the average millionaire, and Miss Floyd was surprised by this, but she looked that up yesterday. She said, the average millionaire is a teacher or has a regular job. I said, yeah, because they live within their means and they have more assets. I said, most doctors and lawyers are not millionaires. They show you their wealth, cars, clothes. They show you through appreciating assets. They aren't rich. The average rich person is teaching is no one occupation to be rich. They learn to live within your means. It's not how people think it is because it's living within means. And so you review your current savings, investments, retirement accounts, and you want to see if you're on track. I always tell people the goal, if you're getting near retirement, 5, 10 years, you can still hit 100. The goal is get to 100. If it gets above 100,000, that's great, but that's the goal. Just get there first. Get there first. You can also check your expected Social Security benefits. As we know, you can go to the website and it always tells you what to anticipate in terms of Social Security. This helps too. You got to be tech savvy because even you see Social Security now, when you call that phone number, you'll wait forever because they've been eliminating Social Security staff and telling people get on the app, go online, and the people wait now 4, 5, 6 hours to get a call answered from Social Security. You determine your goals. What age do you want to retire? Where do you want to live? Retirement normally is a time of downsizing, unless you have a very well-funded retirement. Downsize, relocate, or stay in home. The lifestyles we talked about, then you estimate your retirement expenses. So downsizing is not a bad thing. I always say realize, I'm a believer in typically, unless you have a lot of money, realize the value of your home. Realize the value of your home. Reverend Griffin, you sold your home, didn't you?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
a
And
smart thing.
downside.
You put all that equity into it, you might as well get the money out of it. That's my thing to you. Else you just pay a mortgage all your life and you never realize the value. You just gave the bank all that money and you never got any of the money out of it.
Mhm.
Which that I don't understand unless you just got a fortune, unless you like, oh, I got a ton of money. Create a retirement budget. So you compare those income sources. You can consider inflation, unexpected costs. We're going to talk about that some as we move along. Pensions, you almost don't get to get. So Social Security investments, you almost don't get a pension today. Maximize those savings, employer matching, increase savings in terms of that. And I always tell people, get you a Roth IRA. If you have nothing else, 401k, IRA, get a Roth. The Roth is the best thing in terms of that. If you get employer matching, if your employer does that, that's a good thing. You diversify. But I see, Merle, you talk about this land, stocks, bonds, real estate. You adjust your risk levels based on your timeline. I want to move to this one. Plan for healthcare costs. This is very expensive in retirement. You got to understand Medicare and your supplemental insurance options. Supplemental insurance. Healthcare is one of the biggest expenses when you retire. And so you got to be prepared for that in terms of that. There are things like a health savings account that can help some, that helps some in terms of you can put some money in that, a HSA, a health savings account, but be prepared for you get Medicare when you're 65, but also supplemental insurance because Medicare asks you have something else
Yes.
covering
Yes.
the cost. And so that's
Mhm.
something you got to plan for.
Yeah.
Long-term care insurance, that's more of a luxury, but if you can afford it, it's not a bad move. But it's called long-term care insurance. And I'm a big believer in this too. You start, even before you retire, you start now, 40s, 50s, start building an emergency medical fund. So not only health insurance, but an emergency medical fund, where there's an account, a mutual fund, and you can name it yourself. They won't change the name of it. You dedicate it and designate it as emergency medical fund. This is my emergency medical fund. You start planning in advance. Expenses you prepare for in advance. For example, savings. I got one account for savings, and I started it 2 years ago. Things going pretty good as far as this, but I start wrote a check on it. This is for when I need a car, because my car, and I know how old it is now. It's 13 years old. And I run cars into the ground, but I know the day something happens, it breaks and they say, oh, it costs this much to fix it. You would need
Yeah.
15,000. Keep it. I'm gonna go get the next thing and say, I got all my money out of it. Now I'm ready for the next one. I can't look shocked and say, oh, it broke. It was only 13 years old. I got my money out of it. So you got to know, I got to plan for it before anything happens.
Yes.
Be
Yes.
ready for, okay,
Mhm.
when it's time, the next, and it's going to be a used car again, but the next car, it's going to be a used car I want, but it is going to be, what's the, so then prepare it. So you prepare in advance. Same thing, you in good health, you haven't had major, you don't need a major surgery coming up, you still start preparing. I don't know what's going to come down the line. So prepare is preparing for, okay, let me put a little something away because you don't got insurance. There are other things I can have to pay, other medical bills that'll be my part. It's so hard to get 100% insurance covered. Every plan they offer you will say something for you to pay something, a
Yeah.
copay, emergency room visit, to pay something, prescription drug. It's something. They're gonna get money out you
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's to have something set aside
Something.
for,
Yeah.
okay, if I got to pay that, these medical bills are coming, let me be prepared for that can take place because healthcare. And in terms of you get closer to retirement, this is a major thing. I always say this is the number one thing, reduce debt. I always tell you the number one thing, maximize your income. That's great. That's great. Everybody tries that. And that's great. That's number one. But number two, reduce your debt. I always tell people, don't matter what you make, get out of debt.
Mhm.
Get out of debt. Eliminate debt. When you eliminate debt, you don't care if you make $25,000 a year if you're debt free, because your thing is it's all your money. So you don't have bills, so it doesn't matter. So somebody can make 30 a year with no debt. Somebody makes 200,000 a year with a ton of debt. The 30,000 make more money because it's their money. The other person, all their money's paying bills to sustain their life. Pay off high interest debts, credit cards, and personal loans. credit cards and personal loans. And one of the best ways to do that for credit cards, I talked to Trustee Stevens about this. You just transfer it. Sometimes you got high interest credit card debt, you get a 0% balance transfer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Shift
Yes.
that to that one. And that'll
Yes.
give you a year and a half, 2 years to pay that debt off.
Yes.
That
Yes.
gives you that. I'm gonna believe in that you can shift it. And so they're like, okay, it hit. I'm paying 21% interest. Shift it to a 0%.
Mhm.
You got 18 to 24 months debt free to
Yes.
pay that off. To pay that off. And even if you don't pay it off, you keep paying on it. Somebody else gonna offer you 0%. You shift it over to them,
Yes.
paying it down, paying it down, paying it down.
Mhm.
And then consider paying off your mortgage before retirement. I'm not retiring, but I follow these rules. That's why, like 2 months ago, I've been in this house forever, 25 years, whatever. And I saw the balance and I said, I'm just pay the house off now. I'm just get rid of it and get over with and do it myself, the property taxes and stuff. But once it got to the end, I said, okay, now I'm gonna get rid of it. But you want to just pay it off over time. Over time. I never tell people in the beginning, send all your money to your mortgage. No, just extra, but you got to build your retirement first. You build your retirement, then it's that's being built. Okay, now I can send more. And you avoid taking on new debt. The closer you are to retirement, you avoid taking on new debt. You only take on a new debt when you have to, because then you become in retirement. Oh, I may have to get a car now and this. So you want to have it where you can access in terms of your credit line and don't have a lot of debt in retirement. That's why getting rid of the mortgage is the best thing is to eliminate that one way or another. Estate and legal planning, you create or update your will and estate plan. So if you had a will written, you have to look at it. If you don't have a will, some people say, I don't want to write a will, I'm gonna die. You're gonna die anyway. You gotta write a will. Else you're gonna make a big mess. If you don't have a will, you make a big mess for people because they're gonna fight. Minister Morrow, we've seen this a million times. I've seen this now for
That's right.
13 years.
That's
They
right.
fight over it. There were so many families who fight over the money.
Mhm.
Like siblings turn on each other, grandchildren turn, everybody turns on everybody. I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna do this. It's just a mess. Create a will and estate plan. And I always tell them too, tell the children, the grandchildren, this is what you're getting, so they're not shocked.
Mhm.
I knew they'd leave me more. No, this what you're not getting. You're only getting this. Because then they end up upset and they're mad. I thought she was this, then they mad forever. And you set up a power of attorney, you set up your healthcare directives. Who's going to handle the things you want done for healthcare? I already had a seminar for this, but you consider trust, and you also would consider if the net worth is higher, you do gifting strategies for tax efficiency. And an example of this, like an outrageous example of this, that's Trump. I read his bio and the history, and his father used to avoid taxes. Fred Trump would gift him and his siblings the money. He was gifting it to him, gifting it to him. That's how he got 413 million. He would gift it and gift it because you avoid taxes if you gift it while you're living. It avoids all these things. You get universal tax credit. It took that was years and years ago, but estate planning and gift taxation. And you get what's known as a universal in terms of transfer credit and certain things you get that you can transfer in assets. It's like selling your home, for example. I looked that up long ago, but when you sell a home, if you're married, the first 500,000 of capital gains is tax free. So if you bought a home, 100,000 and it escalated to 600, you pay no taxes. If you're single, you only get 250. So you bought a house for 150 and it goes to 400. That's covered. But when it goes above 450, the other 50,000 is taxed at the capital gains tax rate. So married people get 500,000 in capital appreciation free. It's free. So anything that make up the household for 500,000, they walk away with. And so there are strategies for that for taxes. You explore income generating options, part-time work, consulting, and passive income streams. One of the best friends when you retire are dividends. You can have rental properties, you need capital for that, or dividends. Dividends will pay you income. That's why I said if somebody get to 100,000 and they invested, well, if they own stock in or mutual fund, it could be a dividend mutual fund, but Coca-Cola, Pepsi, those you're getting 3.5%, 4% in dividends alone. So in that year, A person can say, I invested 100,000, I made 4,000 in dividends doing nothing. And they can tell it, Bar T used to do this, and people and set it up every month, send me the check for this. Or every 3 months, send me my dividends. You don't even touch the principal. It's just the dividend income. And they are higher dividend funds. Some of them get 5, 6%. And so they're saying, okay, I can get $5 a month for doing nothing just from dividends off of dividend paying companies, companies that generate dividends. Companies that do that are like Deacon Johnson Company, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, those defense contractors, they pay massive dividends.
Mm.
They pay big dividend income. And you also get capital appreciation too. You get both. So not only do you get the upside, but you get the dividends. When you're younger, until you get retirement, dividends are reinvested. When you retire, you tell them, send me the check, put in my bank account, or send me the check to my house. And every month, send me my dividends. Every quarter, send me my dividends. So younger, reinvested. The older you get when you retire, give it to me in cash. You just flip the option. And you can do that online or calling. And number 10, you regularly review your retirement plan and you make those adjustments based on market conditions or life changes. You want to stay active and engaged and in activities that bring fulfillment. If you're unfulfilled, you need to come volunteer at the church. Come do something at the church and be active and engaged. And so the amount we need depends on our factors such as lifestyle, expected expenses, Social Security, pensions. And so one of the things to do, you use the 80% rule. So typically what that means is whatever you used to make in, you estimate 70 to 80% of pre-retirement income. So 100,000 is an easy number. That's why that's used. So if somebody makes 100,000 a year, they got to prepare for retirement 70 to 80. If somebody made 50, you just cut that in half, 35 to 40. You say, I'm gonna live off 35,000 a year. That's reasonable. You cut it based on what you're used to living off of. So somebody say, I lived off of 50,000. Okay, it's easier for them. Then they can take it even lower than the 100. So in terms of 70, 80% of pre-retirement income to maintain a similar lifestyle, because you're avoiding other bills in retirement. You have a 25 times rule. Knowing what that is, save 25 times your retirement expenses. That's why if a person can eliminate the mortgage, you don't need as much money. Or if you can eliminate some huge debt, you don't need as much because then you just take 25 times your expenses. Somebody said, my expenses run 2,000 a month. Then you could say, Burchett, okay, you only need for that 500,000, and Social Security is covering 23,712 a year. So over time, if you estimate that over 20 years, somebody could say, well, that's 460,000 of what I need. See, it makes a big difference. That's why you have to know what you're getting Social Security because an amount doesn't have to be that big if you add in other things. So 1.25 million could seem like a lot until you say, well, I get 2,000 a month for Social Security. That's 24,000 a year. 20 years, okay, that's 480,000. That's 500,000. Retirement, okay, that gives me 200,000. That's 750,000. Somebody could say from 250 and 500, 750. That's a huge amount. That's another reason, Brother Carter, want to limit Social Security. It's adding up. Those big amounts people are getting, that's adding up. 2,000 a month and people living 20, 25, 30, 35 years. That's $1 million all of a sudden. They're saying, uh-oh, you only supposed to get this much. Now you can get $1 million. So it makes a big difference. That's why it says things like Social Security. Average benefit, 2,000 a month. I rounded it, 24,000 a year. You add that into it, it deducts a huge amount. So if somebody said I needed 60,000 a year to live, well, Social Security taking 24, 25,000. Okay, I only need 35 from other things to live. Because Social Security, retirement plan, that passive income. So Social Security is a major benefit in terms of funding retirement. It reduces what's needed from other plans in terms of that. So in that retirement plan, you want to get that as healthy as you can to help Social Security so you have both working together. And then if you work part-time, you got three areas in terms of income coming in retirement. And that would deal with how much to save each year. I'm gonna skip this. But if somebody was 30, I would tell them save one time for 40, get to three times, six times. In terms of ambitious saving, and that would be to get to a certain amount, 1 million, 2 million, certain amounts. So maximize your savings rate. You'll save aggressively. The closer you get to retirement, the more you focus on saving. Cut expenses, we said, reduce unnecessary spending, luxury items, subscriptions, and it talks about cutting expenses. Use public transportation, drive a used car, something like that. I'm a big believer in used cars. When I was young, I bought new cars, and then I realized the huge hit you take on depreciation. And so the last two, three cars have been used. I'm a big believer used. And with the tariffs that's taking place now, cars going to jump 25%. You, you get a used automobile. Everything's getting ready to get more expensive. Unless he reverses those tariffs, things are going to get more expensive.
Right.
Increase income. Skip, ask for a raise right now. Switch to a high paying job is one. You start a side hustle. You invest in skills that boost earning potential. The number one thing for children, if you got children, I'd always say this, Brother Carl, you got your daughter and children, you push them into IT even as you push them into that field, but I'd push them into coding, something like coding based, because you can do information technology, but that's going to be general. So I would have them do something coding based and artificial intelligence and say, so if they say, I want to be this, that's great. Also take some coding and some AI so that you are skilled in that. Because as Bill Gates said this week, he said in 10 years, he said the teaching job, a lot of them are going to be taken by AI, that AI is going to do a lot of those jobs. Invest windfalls, so tax refunds, bonuses. Tax refunds, people always wait for a tax refund to spend it, but a tax refund should be invested. Sometimes somebody could go a whole year, Noakes, and not invest a dime and say, I'm gonna just invest my tax refund every year, and they would end up well off. If they said, I'm just taking those thousands and putting it and investing it. People don't take the tax refund and say, I'm gonna party, or I'm gonna take a trip, or I'm gonna do this. That's the retirement money. Same thing, bonuses. If you get a bonus, these are things, Reverend Griffin. When I look at this list, I don't get any of these things. When you see bonuses, retirement, that's the church, that's gone. But all that stuff, but bonuses you get, used to get that. You would get in those fields, you get, okay, this bonus in the year, we hit these targets. Birthday money, I always say invest that. That's my philosophy. I've always invested birthday money. The other thing is, it's money I don't expect to get. I got this money, family members gave me this, friends gave me this, invest it. So I would always buy stock and mutual funds with it. Christmas, same thing. I always did the same philosophy at Christmas. That's what I asked when they got 19, 20. I would say, give me stock instead. Give me mutual funds. Give me that. Or give me the money for that. I can invest it. And that'll do it. An extra income should be invested. And so those things will keep expenses lean. And also you have another thing on this list as we come to a close. Annuities. Annuities are good for guaranteed income streams. So not only rental income, dividend stocks, we talked about low maintenance businesses. You see blogging, YouTube. You can make money doing those things in terms of that. I used to do a blog. It's still up somewhere. I think multiplyMyMoney.com. That's what it is. And then there was one called Buy Like Buffett. And on YouTube, I had a YouTube channel, Multiply My Money. It still has a couple of thousand followers, but I haven't done anything with it in forever. One time I did 40,000. It had grown, but I haven't posted in forever. But you can make money. They will pay you to blog. And then you get Google ad revenue, YouTube courses, those things. We mentioned healthcare expenses and the budget for private insurance. So if you retire before 65, you got a budget for private insurance. So you got to make sure you do that until you can get your full benefits and everything at 65. Same thing with Social Security. That depends on the person's situation. Some people should take it early and some people should wait. It depends on your financial situation. Some people should at 62 say, okay, I'm gonna start doing this. Then there are other people who it might be better wait till 65. Some people say, I'm gonna just wait till 70. I say that's a long time. You got to calculate that. You have to calculate how much am I losing in present value versus future value? Those financial calculators, they have buttons say PV, FV, and you have to calculate. Because if I get 1,000 more in 5 years, is it really worth it? Based on the present value of the dollars, what I can do now versus then. And so what we do, last thing, test your retirement plan early. People wait for retirement to do it, but you shouldn't. For a year, you can go up to 2 years before you retire. Live only on your retirement budget. So if you got a retirement plan, you say I'm retiring in 2 years, start living on the budget you plan. Live on it. See if it's realistic. If you say in retirement, I can live off 30,000 a year, do it. See if you can do it. Plan it out, do it. Plan your day just like for retirement. These are my bills. This is what I'm gonna do. Cut everything. Cut expenses, cut it. And then you might find out I can't live off, I can't do this. I can't be without my television. I can't be without this. I can't. You'll find out what you can do, what you can't do. If you're comfortable with it, you're ready to retire. If you can do it, get through a year, you good. You're like, I'm okay without this, this, and this. You're good. If not, you got to adjust your savings or expenses. Then it becomes, I got to work longer. I got to work longer, or I got to focus on eliminating something. So those are different strategies we can utilize in terms of preparing for retirement. In retirement, the goal is the same in terms of this: reduce expenses, reduce them. The goal is always reduce them, no matter what age of life. If you got a child, you want to tell them even now, 3, 4, 5, 6, low expenses, low debt, low debt levels, And even in terms of giving them money, you don't even want to just give them money. You want them to live in a budget. So it might be, I'm going to give you $25, manage this all week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm coming to you for money. No, manage it. You're going to live within your means. Then when you don't keep giving it, they learn to live within your means. If you're always there as a support, they never learn to live within their means. Then they get 40, 50. They still call, can you pay my, can you take care of this? Can you do that? And I always tell parents this. I always tell parents, you better leave them a ton of money if you help them with their bills, because when you die, they can't make it.
Mm.
They can't make. I've seen that over and over again. Parents say, I'm helping my children. Say, you're not helping them. When you die, nobody's gonna give them money like you did. And they gonna blame you for, why didn't you get me prepared? Why can't I make it? It's their fault. They should have done this, done this. So at some point you cut off. I had an excellent father, but I always say this, Bridget, my father, my siblings, Renee, Chris can attest to this. He excellent, supported college, everything. The day I finished college, he said, you're a grown man, you're on your own.
Yeah.
You're gonna buy your car, your house, everything. He started you. When he came to the second car, his famous answer, you'll figure it out. Whenever I needed something, you'll figure it out. He did not give me, my mother didn't give me money. They didn't say, here's $1,000, no. He said, you'll figure it out. When I bought a house, he said, take me by it, let me look at it. He looked at it, came in here, walked around, saw it. He said, good. Don't you feel like a man now? He said, you did it on your own. And his thing, do it on your own. It wasn't, Dad, help me. I need that. No, you're a man, make it. And so that happens when you're grown. You can't always be bailed out by the parent. So if you get up in the budget now, that's an excellent thing. They learn to live within their means.
Hey,
Pastor,
Pastor.
tell them the statement you tell us. Make wise decisions about your money now, or else later your money will make decisions for you. And that's what we learn.
That is my saying. I say eventually the money makes the decision for you. So when somebody say, I got to do this, I say, when you run out of money, it'll make the decision for you. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Eventually the money makes the decision for you. And so it's make wise decisions. I believe in that, make wise financial decisions. And so it's letting people know, and I always believe in this philosophy, you can't have it all. I can't have, okay, I got the huge house, I got the bad car, I got all the clothes, I got it, and you broke. Then you broke. And celebrities find it out. People shocked by this car that they said, Kanye West running out of money. Well, you can only spend money but so long. Eventually that money runs out. That's why athletes have such a hard time. They get used to living a life. Then that salary's gone and they're like, I can't afford this. I can't afford that. I can't afford this. And they go broke. You can outspend any amount of money. Mike Tyson outspent his money. Michael Jackson, he was in bankruptcy and struggling. The man made $1 billion. You can outspend. And you buy Neverland Ranch, you're going to run out of money. Eventually, you run out of money. You got to live within.
Hey, Pastor, you were talking about the children, and you're absolutely right. When because that philosophy, I don't want my kids to have to struggle the way that I did. I think so often we use that, but then that comes back to haunt us later on. And then you also said something that, these children, some of these ungrateful kids, they will look you in your face and you say, I did this, did that. You know what they'll say? I didn't tell you to do all of that. They'll tell you that. After you
the
spent
truth.
all your earnings.
That's the
And
truth.
they will look you in the face and tell you that.
That's the truth. But you're doing the good thing. I tell you, did that, a good thing. You trying to make life better for the children. Crenshaw, you did that, try to make life better for them. But you do always need a little bit of struggle. In life, you got to have some struggle.
There you go.
Must.
You
Yes.
got to have the struggle. But I look at
You
LeBron
do.
James, that's my favorite player. And I always look at his son. I say, the father struggled, the son didn't. The father went through a struggle and had to become Kevin Durant. All these people, they went through struggle. When the children don't struggle like that, they don't have that same hunger, that same like,
Right.
I
They
gotta
don't
go get it.
appreciate.
I gotta go get it. I gotta make it happen. It's more,
Mhm.
oh, I got it. It's easier for me. It's not as hard.
Builds their self-esteem.
It does build a state. A struggle is good. King said it best. Without a struggle, there is no progress. And so they always got to be a bit of a struggle.
They are able.
Yeah.
I have a question. Can I sell my house and move it for a retirement plan and move in a basement of a sibling that's talking on the line?
Miss Floyd is
I
on
can
there.
live
Yes,
right
you
in the
can.
basement?
Yes,
That's a
you can.
joke. That's an
Miss
inside
Floyd,
joke.
Miss Floyd. I'm gonna say she living in a mansion and saying she gonna come live. A mansion. I gotta find a picture of that house one day so y'all can see. It's the promised land. That she
No.
Yes,
God
it is.
faithful. God
Yes, it
It's
is.
a retirement plan.
Yes,
It
it
was a
is.
retirement plan. We got to evict some
Homeownership
tenants.
is
We got to
homeownership
evict
is
some
the
tenants out.
number one builder of wealth. Why are we behind economically, Ms. Carter? It's not our fault, as the people always say. They didn't let us own land. They didn't let us have houses. And so the biggest wealth accumulator for Caucasian people is the home. The home. That was the big, and then they would that's why they had plantation home ownership in terms of that's the biggest wealth builder for most people, home ownership. Most people don't own stocks, bonds, mutual funds like that, enough like that. Normally that's owned by certain people. And that's why I'm big on Bridget, and I leave it here. I'm big on us owning stocks, bonds, mutual funds, because we don't own that. That's owned by certain same people don't own it either. They don't own stocks, bonds, mutual. It's owned by other people. Jewish people own that, but other people own that. That's why in your own family, 13, 14, have your own little bar mitzvah. Call it something Christian. Name it something. I was going to give it a name, but it had a race attached. I can't do that. So give it some name, and then when they're 13, happy birthday. Did you give me my Jordans? No, I didn't, but you have these shares of Nike right here. Here you go, and you'll thank me later. Here you go. You have Exxon stock. Here you go. You're going to thank me later. I bought you a growth fund. You're going to thank me later at a later point in time. Any questions? Anybody else before we close out? We'll just have the benediction.
When should you be aggressive?
That's an excellent question. Two places. You should be aggressive, either youth and 20s, 30s, 40s, and 10 years. If somebody's, let's say they're 50, they said, I'm going to retire 65, they can still be aggressive because they have to get 55, 10 years for retirement. Or if it's not a lot of money, they got to get more aggressive. Somebody told me, I'm 55 and I have $8,000 for retirement. Okay, you got to get aggressive. You have to get more aggressive, increase the contribution, and invest more aggressively. If somebody has about 5 years to retirement, I tell them you need to take some risk. But if somebody told me I got in my retirement $750,000 and I'm retired 5 years, be conservative. Somebody else told me I got 7,500, be aggressive. You're gonna have to be aggressive. Sometimes all you need is one thing to hit. Just like the lottery numbers y'all love to play. Sometimes you just need one thing. If it hits, one stock. Sometimes it's like NVIDIA. If somebody invested in NVIDIA, they made a fortune. If somebody invested in, if you did Tesla 10 years ago, it's down there, but you made a fortune. So sometimes it's just one company that takes Birchett $1,000 and turns it into 300,000, 400, one company. That's why diversification is excellent. It's an excellent thing to diversify. We'll have the benediction then. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
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 And thank you
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you.
Thank you.
welcome. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.